She was standing in a gym lobby answering phones when she got the call that changed everything. Not a call from a casting director, not a call from a record label, a notification from the producers of Britain's Got Talent, the same show she had quietly applied to 4 separate times and walked away from each time before they could film her. That person was Sydnie Christmas, a 28-year-old singer from Gravesend, Kent, who had spent the better part of a decade. She had lived in Germany for nearly 3 years doing a professional stage production. She had auditioned for West End shows over and over again, only to hear no. And in January of 2024, she moved to London, took a 0-hours contract at a gym, and quietly made a decision that almost nobody around her knew about. She had decided this was her last attempt, not her last attempt at Britain's Got Talent, her last attempt at a career in performance altogether. So what happened inside that gym in the months before her audition is actually a key part of the story, because Sydnie Christmas didn't walk into the Britain's Got Talent auditorium as a hopeful. She walked in as someone who was prepared to quit, and she had been fired from day jobs, just like this one, more times than she could easily count, all because she kept taking time off to go to auditions that never went anywhere. The audition she was about to film, she later said, was supposed to be her goodbye. 14 months later, she was standing on the stage of the Royal Albert Hall in London, performing in front of King Charles III. The question isn't how she got there. The more interesting question is what she was actually prepared to give up, and why that decision changed the outcome. Sydnie Christmas grew up in Gravesend, in the county of Kent in southeast England, and from an early age she was a performer. She trained at the D&B Academy of Performing Arts in London, graduating in 2014, and almost immediately began working in the industry she had trained for. Her first professional stage role came at the King's Cross Theatre in London, where she appeared in Lazarus, the David Bowie musical. It was an off-West End production, not the headline billing she had been working toward, but professional work nonetheless. From there, she took a path that many aspiring musical theater performers take. When the West End doors don't open, she went to sea. Sydnie spent time performing on Royal Caribbean cruise ships, The Independence of the Seas, and The Quantum of the Seas, as a lead vocalist. The productions included Grease, where she played the role of Rizzo. It was steady work, it was professional work, but it was not the career she was reaching for. Then came the opportunity that took her out of the country entirely. From 2020 through spring of 2023, Sydnie Christmas lived and worked in Bochum, Germany, as part of the cast of Starlight Express, Andrew Lloyd Webber's long-running musical that has been performed in Germany since 1988. She started as a swing, which in musical theater terms means you understudy multiple roles and can step in for several different cast members at short notice. It is one of the hardest ensemble positions to hold. She later moved up to playing the named role of Carrie the Luggage Car. She also appeared in the E4 reality television series Stage School, which documented the lives of performing arts students. What is notable about this resume is not just its length, it's what it tells you about where her career actually stood. After 10 years of professional work, Sydnie Christmas had accumulated genuine stage experience across 2 countries, 3 different productions, and a television appearance. She had done exactly in her own words. After 10 years, she had done roughly 10 different jobs. The industry had asked everything from her. She was now 28. She wanted a family eventually. She needed stability. And the industry she had given a decade to had not given her what she was working for. That is the context behind what she decided next, and it explains something that is easy to miss about the audition that followed. Here is something that only emerged in interviews after Sydnie Christmas had already won Britain's Got Talent. She had not simply decided to apply to the show in 2024. She had been trying to apply and failing to go through with it for 4 consecutive years. She had sent in applications, she had heard back from producers, and each time, as the process moved forward, she backed out. In her own telling, the reason was fear. She was frightened of what would happen if she went through with it, stood in front of those judges, and still heard no. Because by that point, she had heard no so many times that she was not sure she could take another one. The pattern of the gym job fits here. Sydnie had not simply been working as a gym receptionist because she needed a job. She had lost a series of day jobs over the years because of auditions. Jobs at pubs, jobs at various venues, positions that she lost when she told her employers she had an audition and needed the day off. She described this directly in interviews, saying she had lost more jobs than she could count by telling her employer she was not coming in because of an audition, only to not get the part and then attempt to go back. The gym job in London in January 2024 was the latest in that long line. She was on a 0-hours contract, which in the United Kingdom means no guaranteed hours, no guaranteed income, and no formal job protections of the kind a permanent position would carry. She was not fired specifically because of Britain's Got Talent. She was fired before the audition, in that broader pattern she described, lost jobs for lost auditions. And this time, when the BGT producer email arrived, something was different. She had already made the decision internally. The industry had not worked the way she expected. She was going to try this one more time, not because she expected to win, but because, as she put it, she wanted to end on something fun. She wanted to have it, go for it, and walk away. The 17th series of Britain's Got Talent aired its first episode on ITV1. Sydnie Christmas was in that episode. She walked out in front of judges Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, Alicia Dixon, and Bruno Tonioli, with her two grandmothers in the audience to watch. But within days, something else happened. Viewers who had been moved by Sydnie's story, the gym receptionist with a dream, began discovering her Instagram account. And what they found there was not the profile of someone who had never had a chance. They found photos and posts from Starlight Express in Germany, from cruise ships, from professional stage productions. Within a week of the audition airing, fake claims were circulating widely, with viewers accusing the show of presenting Sydnie as an unknown amateur, when she had, by any reasonable standard, a professional career. Britain's Got Talent has no formal rule against applicants having prior professional experience. There is no mechanism by which a contestant with a professional background is required to disclose it up front. But the controversy raised a genuine question. Had her presentation on screen, the gym worker, who just wanted to sing, been constructed in a way that obscured what she had actually done? Sydnie Christmas addressed this directly. She had tried for the West End for 10 years and had not made it. She had done the cruise ships and the Germany production because those were the jobs available to her. She was not pretending to have no experience. She had never claimed that. But the show had framed her as a hopeful, and that frame did not include a full resume. The controversy did not stop the public vote. She went into the final as the clear bookmaker's favorite. The Britain's Got Talent final aired on June 2, 2024, at the Eventim Apollo Theatre in London. 11 acts competed. Sydnie Christmas closed the show, performing Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz. She won with 27.2% of the public vote, beating out magician Jack Rhodes, who finished second, and dance duo Abigail and Aphrodite, who placed third. The prize was $250,000 in cash, and formally guaranteed as part of winning, a performance slot on the Royal Variety Performance. That second part of the prize matters more than it might appear to an outside viewer. The Royal Variety Performance is one of the most prestigious entertainment events in the United Kingdom. It has been running since 1912. Members of the royal family attend as a matter of tradition. Performers are specifically invited to appear. It is not an open application. Role as patron of the Royal Variety charity since becoming king. For someone who had spent 10 years trying to be taken seriously as a performer, being guaranteed a slot on that stage was not simply a career milestone. It was, in a very specific and documented sense, the kind of thing that could not have been bought or applied for. It came only as a consequent solo female winner in Britain's Got Talent history who was not part of a dog act. She was the first act that Amanda Holden had ever sent through via Golden Buzzer to go on and win She had walked in prepared to say goodbye to the industry. In the months after winning, Sydnie Christmas made a series of decisions that separated her arc from many other talent show winners, who often release one album and then quietly disappear from public view. She released her debut album almost immediately after winning. The album was called My Way, the same title as the Frank Sinatra song she had performed in her semi-final. She recorded it in Prague with a live orchestra. The album went to #1 on iTunes in both the United Kingdom and the United States. Andrew Lloyd Webber, one of the most influential figures in the history of musical theater, personally reached out to Sydnie after seeing a video she had posted on social media, a video of her and her boyfriend Max singing the title song from Starlight Express. Max was someone she had met while performing in the Buckham production, and the two had filmed themselves playing around at a piano together. Lloyd Webber, who had recently revived Starlight Express in London, publicly reshared the video and gave Sydnie permission to record her own official version of the song. She filmed the music video on the actual set of the London production of Starlight Express. In November 2024, she flew to Los Angeles to perform at the Hollywood Bowl, invited by legendary composer and producer David Foster to sing at his 75th birthday gala. She performed alongside Michael Bublé, Andrea Bocelli, and Josh Groban, a bill that would have been unthinkable for someone working a gym receptionist shift 11 months earlier. Then came December 15, 2024. the Royal Variety Performance, held at the Royal Albert Hall. King Charles III attended, his first time attending as patron of the Royal Variety Charity. Queen Camilla was unable to attend due to illness. Sydnie Christmas performed Believer by Imagine Dragons, backed by Dave Arch and the Royal Variety Orchestra, wearing an embellished, strapless gown. The performance generated some divided response online. Some viewers felt the song choice did not suit her voice, having hoped to hear something closer to the classical or show tune performances that had defined her BGT run. But no one disputed she was on that stage. The gym receptionist was performing for the King of England. She also played the role of Fairy Christmas, specifically named Fairy Christmas, in the pantomime production of Sleeping Beauty at the Orchard Theatre in Dartford, her hometown area, at Christmas 2024. It was a nod to where she came from and what she had always done, the local theatre, the community stage, the place where she had started long before Germany or London or television. In the spring of 2025, Sydnie Christmas made her New York City concert debut, performing 2 sold-out nights at Sony Hall in Manhattan. She received 5 standing ovations across those 2 shows. She sang from her debut album and from Broadway classics, and it was noted that the audience, largely unfamiliar with her before the shows, responded the way audiences had responded in April of 2024, with the kind of reaction that is hard to manufacture. This was also something she had specifically said she wanted to do after winning, not just to be a BGT winner, but to be taken seriously as a recording and performing artist internationally. The New York run was a concrete step toward that. Back in the UK, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Praise and the Starlight Express collaboration had opened doors with a theater community that had previously kept those doors closed. Sydnie had spent a decade auditioning for West End shows. She had heard no from those productions in every form it could be delivered. Then, in June 2025, it was announced that Sydnie Christmas would star as Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians, the musical, a production transferring to the Eventim Apollo in London, the same venue where she had won Britain's Got Talent just over a year earlier, for a 6-week run from July 18 through August 30, 2025. The Eventim Apollo, Hammersmith, is not a West End theatre in the technical geographic sense. It is a major London performance venue, seating around 3,000 people, and this production was exactly the kind of high-profile stage work she had been chasing for a decade. She was not the understudy. She was not the swing. She was the lead. She told the press she was excited to sink her teeth into an iconic villain, adding that she saw a bit of herself in Cruella. The production ran its full scheduled engagement. By February 2026, Sydnie Christmas was added to the cast of a concert celebrating composer Maury Yeston's 80th birthday at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, one of London's oldest and most historic theatres, a venue she had never been able to walk into as a cast member during her decade of trying. The pattern of her career after BGT is worth noting. She has not simply coasted. Each year has added something that was not there the year before. The story of Sydnie Christmas is not really a story about a talent show. It is a story about what happens when someone who has been told no for 10 years decides to treat one more audition as a farewell, and the farewell turns into an arrival. She had spent a decade doing everything right. She trained at a professional performing arts academy. She took every job available to her, including jobs on cruise ships and in another country. She kept applying for the parts that would have made her career, and she kept not getting them. And then she went to Britain's Got Talent not to start something, but to end something, with a song Simon Cowell openly said he disliked. A #1 album, a performance in front of the King, and a lead role in a London production that would have been unimaginable 18 months earlier. She is currently building what appears to be a sustainable career as both a recording artist and a stage performer, the 2 things she had been separately reaching for the entire decade. The talent did not change between her last failed West End audition and her first Britain's Got Talent audition. What changed was one decision. A decision made not from optimism, but from a willingness to be done. Here is the question that is hard to answer neatly. If Sydnie Christmas had landed that West End role she was chasing during those 10 years, would any of this have happened? Would she have gone to Germany, met her boyfriend, posted the piano video that caught Andrew Lloyd Webber's attention, or walked into a Britain's Got Talent auditorium with nothing left to lose? What do you think? Was the decade of rejection actually the reason it worked, or did she simply get lucky at exactly the right moment?